Hello.
Greetings and salutations. Hi. Welcome to Planet Virtua. My name is Virtua Neptune. I am here with Virtua PanZer.
Hello, I'm Virtua PanZer.
Very nice to meet you, good sir. And we are here to advocate the SEGA Saturn and Planet Virtua in all of its wondrous glory. Welcome, Planet Earth. We are so happy to be here, aren't we?
We sure are. It's
Good.
nice to be with you, Jeffrey.
We had better be. But anyway, okay, now then. Okay, so pretty much today we are having our first wondrous meeting here. It's been a lot of fun this morning, honestly, if I'm being real honest with myself. We've had great times to talk and about today's wondrous topic. What is today's topic?
Well, we will be talking about first-person shooters,
Oh,
starting with the Great Doom and all
uh-huh.
its clones on the Saturn and beyond.
Yes, the Saturn and beyond. My God. You know, the Saturn may not have like all of the first person shooters, but man, has it got a nice library.
It sure does.
Oh
More than
man.
enough for me.
Yeah, exactly. And it kind of picks and chooses its first person shooters, unlike some systems. Because dear sweet Jesus, the freaking PlayStation 1, oh man. Yeah, it's got a lot of first person shooters, but God, you got to really roll with those punches because some of them are pretty bad. I'm not gonna lie.
Well,
Mm-mm.
some were pretty good.
Oh no, some of them
You
are pretty great, honestly. But
can't argue with that. But there was a lot of shovelware, and honestly, I haven't I haven't really had the time to put into it and go through all of that library of the PlayStation. I know lots of friends had it. They enjoyed it, of course, but for me, it was I always preferred the Saturn, and even with games that came out on both systems, like Alien Trilogy, for example. I
right.
always thought that the Saturn did a great job, much better than the PlayStation in some parts of the game, at least.
Yes, that is correct. Yes, actually, it did. Like, that's what a lot of people seem to not realize is that the Sega Saturn did have a lot better capabilities in some cases. Like, if you look at the X-Men versus Street Fighter, it's just flat out better. Like, you try to argue with any of us on that, you're gonna get smashed because there's a side-by-side comparison on YouTube.
Well, most people pretty much acknowledge nowadays that the Saturn was better in 2D, but it's still always, that narrative that, yeah, but the Saturn couldn't do 3D, which is just not true, is it? I mean, even
No.
with first-person shooters, we'll be talking about that. You got Quake before
Hmm.
PlayStation.
Oh yeah.
It it played really well. It looked quite good. It hasn't aged as well as other titles.
Well, no, but I mean, you really couldn't ask better because it should not have worked. I want to make that very clear. On the Sega Saturn, the capabilities of the Saturn in 3D are very monumentally underrated. Okay. A lot of people thought that the Sega Saturn was not meant for 3D at first, and that's why it has two platforms, and which is absolutely 100% not true. Okay, Nights into Dreams was made for the Saturn, period.
Just like Panzer Dragoon 2
Yes,
and Virtua Fighter 2, and
yes,
looked amazing, all of these
yes.
titles.
Oh my
So
God, they do.
there's no reason to think that it couldn't do 3D. It was complicated,
Oh
but we appreciate what we got.
yeah, exactly. And Nights into Dreams was actually the one that fully rendered both platforms to their fullest degree. That's an interesting little tidbit there because they had the full capabilities of the Saturn in mind for that game.
Yeah, and
Hmm.
it was an innovation as well with the controller, the analog pad. It was
Yes. Do you have a 3D pad controller?
unfortunately not to this day.
Oh,
I've got like
dude.
5 Saturns, but for some reason I
Five
haven't gotten
Saturn.
around to getting an analog controller.
Yeah, I've got a Black Saturn Unit 2 or version 2, and I've got a three. I found a 3D pad for about 35 bucks, and boy, howdy did I snatch it right up. Oh
That
yeah.
was a bargain. That was a bargain. But I was always I've been on the lookout for a good deal for a boxed 3D control, but I haven't been able to find one.
Oh, you want a box 3D controller? Well, good luck on that, is all I can say. Wow. Okay, hey, whatever. But anyway, okay, so basically, what we're talking about today is the 1993 classic that has still not been debunked as the FPS king of all time, Doom.
Undisputed King.
Undisputed. Like there's even a meme online where the king is Doom, and then like he has like the whole Knights of the Round Table of Wolfenstein 3D and Quake and all of these other great Unreal.
Duke Nukem and Unreal and
Oh, Duke
everything. Like,
Nukem 3D. Like, oh man, there are some great ones out there.
really
But
enjoyable. Lots of innovation in each and every one of them. But
uh-huh.
the revolution that came with Doom, I think that was something from out of this world. And funny thing is, I think that the first time I ever heard about Doom was on a Friends episode.
Okay.
They were talking about something like they had the internet, which was something new, and everybody was playing Doom instead of doing work. What's that Doom thing? I need to get that too, but it took me a while before I could get my hands to it.
Oh, dude. In 1990, I think it was 1995, they did a survey or something like that, and it turned out that more people had Doom loaded on their computers than Windows 95 because it was a DOS game.
Sounds legit.
Uh-huh. No, it's legit. That is
Yeah,
100% legit.
yeah. Why not?
Like, there were people who literally made programs that made it impossible for people to load Doom on their computers. It was such a problem for libraries, colleges, just anywhere with a computer, you could see someone on there playing Doom.
And then there were didn't it make it something like an open platform so that everyone could upload their own version of Doom?
My dear Lord, you are really cutting into all of it. Yes. Oh my God, Panzer. Yes. I mean, it revolutionized gaming in so many ways, and that is one gigantic reason why it is still alive and kicking today. Not only is that true, but I myself have count them, three packs of levels that I created.
Wow.
I am not even joking. I am a Doom mapper.
Well, and what are these levels like?
Dude, I mean, you basically can just sit there for, I want to say like 20 minutes. It'll be a crappy level, but for 20 minutes, you can just sit there, create hallways, create doors, create whatever you want, put as many monsters in it as you want, within reason, obviously, and then just sit there, create it, and go kill things. Like that is literally that easy.
Must be really enjoyable too, like putting all the
Dude,
monsters in the corridors and then
the
having
monster
to play
closets,
it
yeah.
and get killed.
And get killed. Yes, there's a lot of that. Oh, you'll get killed in your own Doom levels. That's just, you better be ready for that. Because the notion is to push it as far as you can as to how many monsters you can actually put in the monster corridors. Like there have been like mancubus upon mancubus, and then like behind them there are the arch vials, and oh my god, whoever came up with this is awful. They are Satan themselves, because then you can't hit the arch vials, so they're pinging you with their freaking flames, and then the mancubi, they're like these giant freaking walls, and they're hitting
Good
you with their
time.
flames.
But then it sounds like it's really easy to make your own Doom level, even if you don't know anything about tech like me. But then what happened with the Saturn port? I mean, that
Oh,
was so difficult about porting a 1993 game into a 1995 console with all those processes and the proven ability to run first-person shooters decently.
okay. Well, two words, two names, I should say. John Carmack. Unfortunately, Mr. Carmack, as brilliant as he is, which is no joke, he is staggeringly brilliant. But the problem was he was also very prideful and he made the wrong decision. There was the port guy. I don't know his name. I don't know if it was ever revealed. And if it was, I didn't look into it. But the
We don't
guy who
want
was
to be the
porting,
shame.
yeah, the guy who was porting Doom to the Saturn said that he can do it just fine. In fact, from what he said, he did it to like 50 to 60 FPS or in a frame, yeah, frames per second. And with the 3D engine along with the 2D engine together. Okay. He said it was working amazing. John Carmack looked at it and he said, there's wobble. There's texture wobble. There's the textures are bad.
And we don't want any of that, do we?
He said, go full 2D engine. And the guy was like, I'm sorry, I must have misheard you. What? And he's like, yeah, I need you to go full 2D engine on this to prevent texture wobble. And the port suffered immensely as a result. Now, I I'm not sure if this happened before or after the PS version or whatever, but if you look at the PlayStation port and you look at the Saturn port, you will see a vast difference
Yeah.
as a result. I don't know if the 2D engine in PlayStation was better or if they actually used the 3D engine as a result of the Saturn's trial and error, whatever, it doesn't matter at this point. What
Well, the
matters
PS is
is,
notorious for
oh,
being easier to program. I mean, everyone says that it's easier to port things to the PlayStation, so maybe that was one
yes,
reason. But I
yeah,
really can't see why this was the case with a first-person shooter. And if it could run on a 3D engine, even with some wobble, they should have stuck with that,
yeah.
probably.
Oh no, I'm sure he learned his lesson after that. I'm sure he did. I mean, how could you not? I would rather have all the texture wobble in the world rather than running at 10 to 15 frames per second. That was like, even I am not a graphics junkie. I don't like, man, I am perfectly fine with playing, I don't know, Meteor or Asteroid or Galaga or whatever, Atari, whatever. Okay. I am not even a big texture junkie or graphics junkie, but even I have to say, you push forward on that Doom, and it's like 1 second later, oh, your forward kind of sort of shaky. It was bad. Oh my God, it was awful.
It really took a lot out of the experience of the game,
Oh man, it
for
sure did.
sure.
But the good news is, a lot of people don't seem to get this. It's playable and it's still Doom.
Which is a good thing.
Yes. Now, the one thing that doesn't lag on it is the gun. You'll notice that if you shoot the gun, it will immediately fire. That is by design. Since it was such a horrific, slow experience, the port guy said, "Well, at least you should be able to shoot." So the gun works just fine, while everything else just kind of goes in syrup.
The Saturn did have some other good first-person shooters that were around, and they were performing a lot better, and
A lot better.
a lot better, and that would make it kind of absurd to people who had a Saturn or were thinking about getting one because not that many people had gotten into it even by '96. So it was like mixed signals, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a lot of mixed signals. The problem was that Sega didn't exactly know how to market themselves at the time. You can see that very clearly with the 32X itself because it came out, God, I want to say at least a year or no, not maybe in a couple of months. I don't remember. But it didn't come out very long before the Saturn. And they're like, oh, look, there's 32 bits and you can attach it to your Genesis. And then people were like, well, that's great. But what about the Saturn thing coming out? Shouldn't we just kind of, I don't know, wait for that?
It was almost simultaneously released in Japan, the
Mm-hmm.
SEGA Saturn, and in North America, they released the 32X, which was very confusing. And then, like, you
Mm-hmm.
got that 32X Doom port, which was not good. And then
Mm-hmm.
a few months later or a year later, I don't know exactly, you got the Doom port on the Saturn, which was still not good.
Mm-hmm.
So people, the press, everyone, they were saying just how great the PlayStation was and how much better in every sense. And at some point, it was like Sega was giving them the proof that yeah, the PlayStation is better than us,
Yeah. Yeah,
right?
they were kind of
They
giving them weapons to use against them. Yeah, pretty
yeah, and
much.
they were trying these ports of PlayStation titles like Destruction Derby. I mean, uh,
Oh, Destruction
Psygnosis was
Derby.
owned by Sony,
Yeah.
and then they asked them to do a port of their game to the Saturn. I don't know if anyone could actually expect it to be a decent port. I don't know what Sega were thinking, and all those things together, they started testifying to a notion that the Saturn couldn't perform well,
Pretty much.
which was far from the truth.
Sometimes it was the truth, yes. Now, the another problem was that the Sega pissed off Walmart. So they released it, but then Walmart didn't get any consideration whatsoever. And so Walmart didn't take it. And guess how big Walmart was back in 95?
Yeah,
Pretty big.
you couldn't make mistakes like that.
That is
I haven't
a
made.
ridiculous mistake to make. It pretty much killed their sales. I
Yeah,
mean, like, yes, it was still somewhat popular in America, but man, I was the only one on my block that had a Saturn. I'm gonna be honest.
it did slightly better in Europe, and you
Yeah,
can also tell that even if you don't know the numbers, we had a few more titles being released in Europe
yeah, the
than
PAL, yeah,
than in North America, and
pretty much.
the magazines were supporting it for slightly longer, but it was doomed, uh,
Yeah, pretty much.
pretty
So
much
yeah.
at some point.
Okay,
But
so
we did
yeah,
get those great first-person shooters. We did get some great 3D
we got some
fighting games,
good
especially
ones.
from
Yeah.
Sega. So it's not like we didn't get the content, we didn't get the good software. It wasn't. There was always a feeling that we could get some more.
You would think, wouldn't you? But no, unfortunately, we got what we got, and that's all that we got. And it's kind of our own fault. But at the same time, Sega really should have played their cards a lot better. Just be honest with each other. But then, okay, so pretty much you've got a bad Doom port, but then you've got the Quake port that was there, but not on PlayStation, but on the N64. And it's like, whoa, what happened here? I thought we were just awful, but no, the Quake port is pretty awesome. I
Yeah, and
love the Quake
even
port.
the N64 port, I think it came out later than the Saturn port, if I'm
Yes,
not
it
mistaken.
did. And it is actually about the same because the N64 port was able to do multiple players. So they used all of that space on using multiple players. So pretty much the quality of both games is more or less identical, which is interesting. Very interesting, actually. I mean, I do love the Quake 2 port on the N64. Don't get me wrong. Actually, I like that better than the original Quake 2. I'm going to be honest. Quake 2 64 is awesome. If you have not tried it, I highly recommend it. You've got Duke Nukem 3D on the Saturn, which is actually better than the PlayStation port.
Definitely.
Just flat out better. Like there's no argument. You can't.
Just like the Exhumed or Power Slave port of Sega Saturn is better than the PlayStation port.
Yeah, it's
So
yeah.
Lobotomy really schooled everyone.
Pretty much. Like I will be. I look like I'll be the first one to say that PlayStation does some things better, but I will still come back with a gigantic punch to someone's cheek. Like hold it right there, bro. Like we still got the good Quake and the good Duke Nukem 3D, and we've got Exhumed. It's like, dude, we're not bad on the FPS side. Duke Nukem, I played that on the Sega Saturn more than I played it on the PC.
Yeah, lots of people say that it's better on the PC, and it
No,
most
not,
probably is.
it's
I'm not
not
really sure.
better. No, it's not better than the PC. The PC is still king in this case because it basically you can't. The controls are still wonky
Yeah,
because you.
I'm with you. I'm with you on that. But
Yeah.
when you get your console, you want to get good games on it.
Mm-hmm.
Duke Nukem, Quake, they were good games, and they were better. You didn't get Quake at all on the PlayStation, and the Duke Nukem port was better on the Saturn. So it was testimony that it could do well with 3D, with 2D, with first-person shooters, and a number of other things.
Oh,
But it didn't get the love from the press. It didn't get the love from the fans.
nope, sure didn't. And it really took us as pioneers of the age to bring about that message of, hey, dude, your console's good, but ours is still pretty damn good. Like, you can't discount Sega Saturn on a lot of these games, especially some of these exclusives. Man, the Sega
Certainly.
has some real exclusives. Like,
Yeah, I've always been saying that you can rate them into two different kinds of exclusivity, the
yeah.
Saturn games,
Mm-hmm.
because you get the at the time exclusive, like let's say Daytona USA or Nights into Dreams,
Oh,
which at some point were later ported to other platforms,
yeah.
and then you
PC,
get
yeah.
those super exclusive games like Bulk Slash, which you don't get anywhere else, and they're really begging to be remastered or treated for the 21st century in some way.
Yes. Case in point, House of the Dead.
Yeah.
Oh, the House of the Dead. Oh my God, I love the series so much. And it's a Sega game. Ooh, that must
Have you
hurt.
played the Switch remaster?
Yes, I have played the remaster and I have reviewed it. That will definitely be posted.
Mm-hmm.
I
But there
love
are
that.
so mixed reviews about it. Some say that
Yes.
it kind of loses the whole point. It's not a light gun game anymore.
Yes, I love the original. Even the Saturn port. People kept on saying, "Oh, the Saturn port, it's all blocky and stuff." I'm like, "Shut up. That's the Saturn. If you don't
And it
like it,
plays
then
well.
just shut up." I mean, it's do you really think that like we're here for the most detailed freaking no, we're not. Like, I'm here to shoot zombies and look at blood. That's
Exactly. I mean,
yeah.
you don't care if your zombie is high res or not.
Yes, exactly. It's like, why do I care? And then they were like, okay, so you want the high res edition, right? And we're like, okay, I guess. And then it came out, it's like, it was good.
Hmm.
It was good. Like, like that's all I can really say about it. It looked off. It kind of looked like you had the old zombies, but then they kind of put on like masks and like a whole suit that made them high quality graphics, and they didn't change anything beyond it looked weird.
So
Okay.
a zombie is a zombie even with the makeup on.
Yes, you basically just kind of put makeup on and say now you're pretty, go. It's
Yeah, but
like
then you can't really shoot it with a light gun,
uh-huh.
which takes out all the fun out of it.
Kinda, yeah, kinda. I can play it with the controller just fine, but that's me. Like that's because I didn't have a light gun when I was young.
Hmm.
So I just played it like all natural. I didn't care. I liked it. I loved it. And same with Virtua Cop. Oh, Virtua Cop. But yeah, basically you've got like low res polygons that I will never give up. I just love them to
Yeah,
death.
I don't mind them either. And it's that direct fun kind of thing. You just pick it up and play, and you can play for 15 minutes and you're okay. I mean,
Like seriously, it's really
everybody
that simple.
likes
Yeah.
games with lots of content, and I think that the PlayStation uh, really did a lot towards that direction because
Right.
many of the games that came out on the PlayStation were the first ones that had lots and lots and lots of content. But at some point, I was thinking that some of that content was not that interesting to me, and I
Mm,
preferred to play House of the Dead or Virtua Cop or Sega Rally, which might have had less content, but it was faster. I mean, the gameplay was more responsive, and you could just pick it up, play, have some fun, and then get on with your life.
pretty much. Like a lot of that is missing from today's gaming. It's kind of a problem with a lot of these games. You want to just sit there and you want to play and you want to kill demons or you want to pick up the gun, shoot them with a super shotgun, but no, you've got to load this and then you got to download that. Oh, and there's a patch, by the way.
And there's a
Yeah.
learning curve that's different these days. I mean, you really have to spend some time to master the controls and everything,
Uh-huh.
which when you do actually master it, it must be quite fun. But if you don't have the time or the energy or maybe the will, the old retro games, they're just much more fun to to just pick up and play and not think about it too much.
Yeah, exactly. And that in and of itself is what represents Doom, if we just go
Yeah.
back on that topic. Now, Doom has an interesting history, if we may go into that. It started as shareware,
Mhm.
and basically, its catapulting point was with Wolfenstein 3D. Wolfenstein 3D came about with killing German people of a certain Reich, and basically there was so much blood and so much killing, even of killer dogs, that of course PETA and whoever else, and that was the funny part. Like people would actually call them and say, "You can kill dogs. How do you kill dogs?" And the guy's like, You can also kill people." I'm like, "Damn, that's cold," but but no, and basically people were going crazy about that. And then even the censors, they were like, "Oh, the censors don't like this very much. What do we do? Make it worse." Okay. That's
It was a
literally what they
time
did.
when people were trying to make video games more and more, bloody and gory, and you got Mortal
Uh-huh.
Kombat and Night Trap and Doom.
Doom and Mortal Kombat both kind of just said, "Screw you, we're doing this." Okay, like they didn't care. And so yeah, once Wolfenstein came out and it was proven that you could actually do this without making too many people sick, because that was also a thing, motion sickness. Yeah, Doom, basically John Carmack and John Romero pulled out all the stops that they could. John Carmack went to the store, spent, God, I think he dropped, I want to say a full million, but might have not been that much. But he bought this beautiful, just crisp, wonderful like NXT, I think it was called, computer that was top of the line for that day. And he spent, I think, an entire month in his apartment away from everyone. And he apparently, day in and day out, all he did was code a new engine,
You
like the
kind of get that
Wolfenstein 3. 3D.
When you're playing the game, don't you get that feeling of isolation? Like on Doom, you're
Don't you
deserted on a
ever.
planet and you've got these corridors and monsters.
Yes.
So do you think it was the whole process that he followed into making the game that transpired into the game itself?
What it was virtual reality. He wanted virtual reality. He wanted to put you, Mr. Pan, he wanted to put you in the boots of the hero with the
In the
gun.
corridors.
Yes, in the corridors, he wanted you to be scared, but he also wanted you to have the ability and the tools to do it. Okay? That is Doom in its rawest form.
And maybe even that little icon on the bottom when it showed your face and you were taking all that damage and your face, it was changing and it was bruised and then it was full of blood.
Uh-huh.
It was those little details that today maybe they don't mean that much to people, but back then it was something new, and
Mm-hmm.
it was a part of immersing you into the atmosphere.
Yes, very much so. And you'll also notice that the structures around you are very different from real life. You'll see all of these weird, well, what do you call it? Textures, like yeah, the textures and the like. You won't see a whole lot of bricks, quote unquote. You won't
Mm.
see a lot of that drywall. You'll see like metal, and you'll see jagged edges and staircases with like dark strobing lights. It's all atmospheric. It is supposed to be like that. John Romero was the one who catapulted that image of Doom into the levels and made it otherworldly, like you're on Mars or you're Phobos or something like that. That, again, is like taking you out of your world and putting you into Doom.
And it wasn't easy. I mean,
No, God, no. It had never been done
many
before.
many had tried, and many tried after Doom, but I think that maybe Quake came close to that feeling. What do
No,
you think?
Quake did that feeling, but that was a different experience altogether. Oh my God, that's a whole other experience. Like, you think that, like, yeah, he did a year. Not, no, 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 I'm sorry. He did a month on the Doom engine. He did well over a year on the Quake engine. There's a big difference. Oh my God.
Well,
Yeah.
technologically, yeah, but
Of a little more than that, actually. It's oh, okay. Let me put it to you this way. John Carmack did that so hard that he literally went to sleep and he opened his eyes and saw coding start to crawl all up and down his arms like he was in the game, and it started to freak out, and then he woke up and he's like, oh man,
that's scary.
dude, it racked his brain to create the Quake engine. No one had ever done anything even remotely similar other than these low polygonal whatever worlds that you see in the 80s, like, those weird movies that use the weird stupid technology. John Carmack basically took that, put detail into it, made it a Doom game, not originally intended, but that's how it's ended up. Made it a Doom game and made it to where you could literally look around everywhere and see the entire world up, down, like everywhere, underwater, all of these things. It took ridiculous amounts of coding. He even had to bring in Michael Abrash, like a different guy who did similar theories of this game engine. Theories. That's all it was theory. None of it had been done before.
And then you got Lobotomy, who took all that to the Saturn, a 1994
I,
machine.
I still can't get my head around that either.
Yeah,
Lobotomy seriously did us a favor in more ways than one. I am so grateful for them. They were pioneers of their age. Love the Saturn. They must have loved the Saturn because I don't think they did anything like that for the PlayStation. Like,
actually,
holy crap.
they stated that it couldn't be ported to the PlayStation,
Right.
and it had to do with the VDP 1 and VDP 2. that the Saturn had that was able to handle both the polygonal backgrounds and the polygonal enemies.
Uh-huh.
We
And
did quite well.
guess how hard it was to unlock that though. Holy crap, they must have really put their backs into it.
Yeah,
Oh, I
those
can't imagine.
lobotomized brains of theirs,
Yeah.
they work they worked really hard.
Oh my God, so hard. I can't even imagine. That's coding to a new level. I can't even like I'm not even a coder, but I know to some degree how hard it is. Like only because I took a coding class in college. And oh my dear Lord, no. Okay, so John Carmack made the engine. He made the technology. And he was brilliant at it. Like, oh my God, no one had ever done it before. He was making waves that you have never seen before with Wolfenstein 3D. And then with Wolfenstein 3D, it was just one linear path, one set of lighting, and one graphics. Doom was so dynamic. You could go up the levels. You could go like you could basically go up and down elevators. You could do lighting, strobe lights, dim lights, whatever. It doesn't matter. And then each individual monster has its own AI and their own way of attacking. There's just so many details that people don't realize go into Doom, and that brought on the Doom clones that didn't know what they were doing.
And they were something else in 1993. I
Something
mean,
else.
people nowadays play all those first person shooters that are way more advanced, but
Mhm.
that was like 30 years ago.
Exactly 30 years ago. Like we literally just had Doom's 30th anniversary. So yeah, that pretty much catapulted them to household status, as in like everyone knew it was
It,
a bit of Doom mania, as some called it.
it was kind of a new thing back then, and I think they were testing limits as to what the audience could put up with, what society would allow, and maybe it wasn't too far in the future when Carmageddon released, which was an even more violent and gory and
Ooh, Carmageddon. Yeah, that's reaching back, isn't it?
yeah, and they were pushing it to extremes, trying to see what people are going to say, who's going to get the most controversial title, I think.
Well, yeah, Doom basically opened up the floodgates because after that, there was this ultra violent Time Killers, which was actually a Street Fighter ripoff, but went super violent with it. And then, yeah, then then they said it was like Mortal Kombat mixed with Street Fighter, but the worst of both worlds because they didn't know what they were doing.
Mm. Yeah, nobody remembers Time Splitters, Time Killers, or whatever, but everybody
Right.
remembers Doom and Mortal Kombat because the games were good, they were solid.
Yeah, but then the developers of Time Killers also created Street Fighter the movie, the game.
Yeah, they shouldn't have.
No, they really shouldn't have. But that's neither
Yeah,
here nor there. That's another video entirely.
definitely.
Definitely. But no, then we've got like people, then with things like, oh God, there was what was that one? Angry Video Game Nerd did a couple of ripoffs of Doom, but one of them really stood out to me. It was called Gloom. Oh
Gloom.
my God. I am not even joking. I wish I were joking, but no, I believe it was either the Jaguar or the 3DO. I don't remember, but the graphics were awful. It gave him a headache. I mean, just looking at it in the video gave me a headache. And if you left the corpses on the ground, the game would start to crawl in its frame rates. It was just an awful experience.
You mentioned Street Fighter the movie earlier, which was an example of a video game that turned into a movie
Oh
with
no, here we
kind of
go.
ambiguous results. Some people completely hate it. Some other people admit that it's bad, but it's enjoyable. But have you watched the Doom movie?
Yeah, I saw this coming. Yes, actually, I saw it. Let's see. I saw it 2006. and I was inebriated to the upteenth degree, and I still thought it was boring.
Hmm.
Uh-huh. Even being drunk. Like I like Carl Urban and I like Dwayne Johnson, but wow, that was a lot to take in.
It just didn't work, I think.
It didn't. They
And
tried.
and remember, you also mentioned in your article that at some point Doom was considered to be a tie-in game for Alien,
Yeah,
which
I thought that id actually were about to get the rights from them, but could not get the rights. But John Romero actually told me that this was inaccurate. He
okay,
he actually like replied to one of my messages and said, "Hey, this is inaccurate," and I'm like, "Oh crap!" So I listened to the audiobook of Legends of Doom, and what actually happened was they considered Alien, but then they said, "No, let's not do that because then they wouldn't let us have creative control," and that's it.
which which sounds logical, and
Uh,
usually movie tie-in games have all sorts of problem if they're not straight out bad. Uh, but what I really mean is that since you create a game like Doom, which is innovative in a number of ways, and it seems that Carmack had gotten some sort of inspiration from Alien, even if it's not based on that movie, it inspired him in one or more ways. So then trying to turn that into a movie of its own, I think is a difficult endeavor to say the least, and that's why it didn't work out.
I mean, yeah, no, it's the okay. The problem with the Doom movie was the director, for one thing, had no idea how to love Doom. That
Hmm.
I can say that with absolute surety. The next problem, there was too much ambitious action that was not actually action. You thought it was going to be action, but then nothing happened.
Hmm.
Like over and over and over again. The story was teetering on progression with one, count them, one imp. I think we saw one imp for
Hmm.
most of the movie. I think there was like two in all, maybe. I don't
Yeah,
remember.
that just doesn't bring you memories from the actual game, which had a really good pace.
Mm-hmm.
Usually, it wasn't overloaded with enemies, uh, but there was
Ooh,
kind of like a steady action.
yeah. Okay. Wow. Yeah, that's a whole other that's a topic we'll touch on later for sure. Is the overabundance of enemies in some levels, but not in proper Doom. Yeah. But okay. So what they did was they went with, oh, the scientist zombies. We can bring in those. They're cheap, right? Sure. Why not? So that was it. And then that infamous first person shooter scene way overcut. Like it was like, yeah, there was shooting and yeah, there was zombies and yeah, that's Doom, but it didn't work. They couldn't make it
Hmm.
work. Nope. It was awful. And then the Dwayne Johnson monster, and then the fact that the BFG was just kind of there. It's whatever. It's they didn't do it right. Okay. And neither did Doom Annihilation. Oh my God. I can't believe there was a second one. Okay. Yes. There was a second live action, if you did not know.
I actually, yeah, never bothered. Or maybe, if I just saw a trailer or something,
Yeah.
maybe I thought it was the first one that I didn't want to watch again.
No, no one did. I did, though. I watched it.
I'm sorry. I'm
Uh,
sorry for you. I'm
just, I
sorry to
mean,
hear that.
I'll be fine. I'll be fine. But,
It's been a long time since then.
like, and I didn't even get the whole girl boss, whatever zeitgeist we're going through right now where women have to take over. I didn't even get that from this one. Like, yes, we got Joan of Arc reference. Ho ho, we're just so clever. Um, no, they replaced him with a woman, but but again, everyone came out looking like an idiot, so I can't really say they were leaning every which way. And then they got some of the action back, but man, let's just go with it was a constipated experience.
Hmm.
Yep, severely.
Yeah, they very often are those video games turning into movies. But
Yeah.
in terms of inspiration, I think that what Doom basically gave us lots of was inspiration to other video game creators, and
Plenty.
we're thankful for that. If you could pick one of the Doom clones on the Saturn as your favorite, which one would it be?
Oh, that's a good one. Actually, if you really had to pin me against the wall. Okay, so first we have Robotica, long hallways, and
Did it first come out on 3DO?
I believe so, yes, actually. You might be very right about that. In fact, I'm fairly certain I did see that, but I can't be for sure. Alls I remember once again is long hallways. There were a lot of
Yeah, I've
those.
read that. Haven't played it, but it just never intrigued me
No,
into
no,
trying to find out what it is.
no. It's like okay, it, it was boring. Just flat out not great. Like
Hmm.
you would encounter some enemies if you were lucky. Wasn't great. Okay, then there's Space Hulk, Vengeance of the Blood Angel, which is a Warhammer 40K game, strangely enough. It was also very boring in that the load times were atrocious.
But I have read some people saying that they liked it for one reason or the other. Uh, can really recall why. And another one that I haven't spent any time on, but I think it was more of an example of a mixed reviews
Uh-huh.
game. Some people, completely ignored it. Some others
Uh-huh.
said that it had some interesting aspects. Have you played it?
I have actually. It
Mm-hmm.
I played all of these games, I promise.
Mm-hmm.
They you see whenever I went on a big huge stint where I had the unique opportunity to sample, or not even sample, really. I just kind of got down on like a ton of Sega Saturn games. So I played a lot of games that many people have never heard of.
That's very fortunate. And now
Yeah.
nowadays with Saturn game prices going sky high, you can't very easily play them. But
Yeah.
there are many other emulation options and
Hmm.
Pseudokai and Fenrir and whatnot.
Yeah, what I did was a friend of mine got his hands on a bunch of reproductions,
Hmm.
and then oh, I was able to locate the actual games, emulations, reproductions, and just about anything else to
Wow,
almost finish the entire library.
hmm.
Almost. Okay,
That's a lot of games.
it was, and the problem was that some of them didn't work, but that doesn't matter because I was still like, there's no way I can complain about this at all. So yeah, Congo the movie was also there, the city of Zinj, and it was even worse.
Yeah, that must be
Oh, it was
one
bad.
of the very worst of all times. I've seen the videos.
Oh, dude, it was the forest, and then oh my god, a gorilla, and then the forest, the forest, the forest, the forest, and then what was it? Snakes or something like that? No, spiders. That's
And
right,
it was one of the
spiders.
titles that was advertised at the time.
Huh?
I mean, even
Can
even on the Sega Saturn box, you could see it.
yes, you
And
can.
somebody who had gone there to buy that game, I mean,
It was
I
bad.
don't know what they would be thinking.
I don't know, but I saw it in a magazine along with the Sega Saturn, and it was priced at like $60. I'm like, no. But now, but the one game that I do want to touch on that's nothing like Doom at all. So honestly, it doesn't belong in here. But at the same time, it is so strange. It is called Magic Carpet.
Yeah, but not
No,
a Doom clone, really.
it's not. It's it's flying around on a magic
Yeah,
carpet.
yeah, I know.
It's just flying around a magic carpet. I'm like, why do I like this game? Seriously, why do I? Seriously, I remember playing this as a kid. I don't remember how. I think my brother either downloaded it somewhere, we found it at a friend's house, or something, but I actually remember this game. It is the
It was quite popular on PCs, and I think I played it on a PC as well.
what?
And for some reason, it got ported to both the PlayStation and the Saturn. Maybe it got ported to the 3DO as well. I'm not sure,
What? You
but
see, and I'm
it,
just finding out about all this. I had no idea.
but I'm not crazy about it. And
Eh.
if you didn't have a good PC back then, it would be very choppy and
Oh,
foggy and
yes.
all that. So
Yes, this I
I
know.
think I haven't spent more than 5 or 10 minutes just playing and then looking at somebody else play it on the computer and then goodbye.
Yeah, I know. I get it. For me, it was just the free roaming aspect and the fact that you got to do a little pew pew. You remember the little
Mm.
pew pew? Pew pew.
Then I got a question for you.
Uh,
Would you consider Blam Machine Head a Doom clone? Because it is kind of similar to Magic Carpet in the sense that you're on a hovercraft or some sort of very strange uh, flying mobile that you're attached on. I don't know if you played the game.
which game was
And
this again?
it's Blam Machine Head by Core. Very
Right.
dark, very atmospheric, interesting music. Weird
Mm,
game.
I'm gonna say no.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna okay. No, the mech warrior genre is very similar, but it's not the
But
same.
you see, that's the point. It's not a mech warrior
But it's a hover
either.
tank, sort of.
Yeah, it's very weird because the whole story starts with a mad scientist who um, sedates another scientist, a woman who's very good looking too, and he plugs her brain onto a hovercraft which has crazy ammo and bombs and everything. And he sends her out on a dystopian environment where she has to kill aliens and I don't know what else. And if she doesn't do that, the whole thing explodes. So she explodes with it.
Right. I
It's
do
really a
remember that
crazy game,
mechanic.
and
Yes.
I think it's one that's very difficult to put into either category. I understand that, yeah, it's not a mech warrior or uh, that type of thing, but it's not a Doom clone either.
Right.
But I just mentioned it because you mentioned Magic Carpet,
Hmm.
and if you look at the two of them, they have similarities. Blam would be closer to a Doom clone, but not there.
Right. Not quite. Not that I can see. The honestly, the those types of games like Gin War and all of those and like Mech Warrior and honestly, I never got into them. I'm gonna be honest.
Hmm.
They were more of a passing fancy to me. But Doom became like, kind of my entire world for a second there.
Hmm.
And that inevitably led me to finding the official Doom sequels.
Hmm.
Let me tell you, hmm, if we had to go in on another subject, the Doom sequels, like not even just Doom 2, I'm talking about Doom 2, the master levels, Doom, the Plutonia experiment, and even Sigil, which came out fairly recently, along with its sequel, Sigil 2. Let's
Hmm.
go with these were really, really hard. Okay, the Plutonia experiment is basically the monster closet from all of your nightmares. I like, ooh. The first level, you start with a pistol, all like always. But guess what's on the other side of an entire map? Like a large room is nothing but chain gunners. That's how it
Okay.
starts.
But is it playable then if it's that difficult?
It is. No, 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 no. The thing is, the chain gunners are in each individual little covering. Okay.
Hmm.
So only one can see you kind of at a time. But if you don't dart to either side as you go in or something like that, or some sort of maneuver, you're going
Mm,
to get shot. Okay. And that's just the beginning, man. They break out the revenants, they break out just I don't even remember if there was an arch vial in the first level, but it would not surprise me in the slightest.
I see.
Yeah, no, the Plutonia experiment was created by one of the creators of Half-Life. Okay, one of his earlier things.
Hmm.
He said that he was unapologetic to any of it because he was sick and tired of people complaining about how easy Doom was.
Oh, come
And
on.
the levels only got harder and harder and harder with arch vials, revenants, just entire monster closets, just these horrible traps that put you on a bridge with barons of hell and just everything around you just throwing green fire at your face.
But you said that you were going through the list of
Oh yes.
Southern FPS shooters, and then
Yes.
I distracted you when we went all the way to the Plutonium experiment.
Oh, right. Okay, yeah, that did kind of go sideways, didn't it? Okay. Next one up. Oh God. Maybe this is why I stopped because I saw what was next. Yeah, it's called Crazy Ivan.
Hmm, the
Uh-huh.
Psygnosis title.
Uh-huh. Or Crazy Ivan if you want to go with the Russian whatever.
Yeah,
Anyway, but so yeah, we're not going to go into the whole Russian political thing here like I didn't do that in my review. I'm not going to do that here. You're in a tank and you shoot other tanks and you're Russian and you make
yeah,
stereotypes pretty
obviously.
much. Obviously. I mean, yeah, it's tanks and Russians. I mean, duh. But anyway, no Stalin, no, we're not doing that. Okay. So next up Gin War. Oh, well, of course. If we got, mechs and stuff.
Yeah, but basically we said that Gen War,
uh-huh.
do we
Yeah.
consider it to be a Doom clone?
Yeah, Doom. No, not really. It's one of the hover tank ish, mech war ish things. It's honestly, it's really no different from the others. If we're being honest, it's really slow. It's mediocre. Let's go with it's
Hmm.
pretty mediocre. Yeah, it's an FPS, but I just no.
Yeah, I'd agree with you.
Yeah. No, no, no. If you want to go into what really, really defines the FPS, then we would go from Doom all the way to Quake, which was, as we said before, far more advanced. And it brought FPSs to that next level of 3D because it's been done. It had been done, but never like this.
Yeah, but Quake was great. Everybody knows that. It was phenomenal on PCs and
Uh-huh.
a real achievement to get it on the Saturn.
Oh my God, was it ever? Yeah, we definitely went into that lobotomy.
Hmm.
Oh, lobotomy really
Thank
did
you,
us a favor.
Lobotomy.
Thank you, lobotomy. Clap, clap. So we got Quake. We didn't get Quake 2, unfortunately.
Because the Saturn was
Not
not our
ready.
future, apparently.
It really wasn't. It
But
it
we did
yeah,
get Duke Nukem 3D, which is
we sure
great. We
did.
covered that
Awesome.
as well.
Right.
Thank you, Lobotomy, again.
Thank you again, lobotomy. Man, they did us a favor. I cannot sing their praise enough. So yeah, unfortunately, that kind of brings us to a kind of a standstill on the Saturn there. The big problem we have is that just first person shooters on the Saturn were never huge. We could go into the rail shooters if we really wanted to, but that's Area 51. But Virtua Cop, of course, perfected it. God, the arcade shooter, man. Like there was Virtua Cop and then there was House of the Dead, and just
Mhm.
you just can't really get much better than that, honestly. Like you could try on some of the play. I mean, were there any big, huge ones on the PlayStation that you can remember?
No, well, there was Time Crisis,
Right.
and it was a hit because Namco did really their best to create something better than Virtua Cop. It's not actually better, but it had some innovations like ducking and doing things like that.
Right, going
Uh,
undercover was a big thing back in those
yeah,
days.
but funny thing is that on a retro video games page in Greece, I I had them vote for the first their favorite rail shooter, light gun shooter, whatever. And even though Sega fans are not the majority, Virtual Cop came on top, and then it was House of the Dead, and then everything else.
Uh-huh.
So it shows that these games had a bigger legacy. They
Mm-hmm.
were they were more impressive for what they were. But we're forgetting on the FPS genre. I think we're forgetting Exhumed, Power
Oh.
Slave. It's a great game. It
Mm-hmm.
also came out on the PlayStation. It wasn't as good, and I would say that if there was one thing that the Saturn innovated on the FPS Saturn, it was that game, Power Slave slash Exhumed, depending on where you are on the planet.
Right.
Um, it was the lighting effects that we saw in 1996 on a game like Exhumed. They set the bar for what lighting effects in corridor shooters should be like. And that was the effect that Lobotomy used on Duke Nukem and Quake. And it took the PlayStation a long time to mimic that kind of effect on their
Right.
games,
Yeah, that
but
was a big deal.
not quite get it at the same level. And Exhumed also had that great, plot where you're somewhere in Egypt. It's not very historically accurate, but
Right.
very, very interesting and impressive in the way that it presents things. Um, and whereas Doom is kind of always dark, Exhumed had this playing with light and darkness and interiors and exteriors. And even if it's not actually the best game, the best FPS shooter on the Saturn, it's debatable. I think it was the one that was the most influential.
Well, as far as Saturn games go, yes, I have heard of things of that nature for its lighting effect. I didn't know all of that for sure.
It wasn't just
Yeah.
the Goro lightning effect. It was this effect of shooting something and then the light going through the corridors and following it. I don't remember the exact name of the technique that they used, but they were kind of the first ones uh, that did that on an FPS shooter, and then it kind of spread elsewhere. But it wasn't just technically good, the game played well. It was a great experience.
Right. Yeah, no kidding. Like it that is definitely one that is on my list to actually play to review. I like basically whenever I was doing all of my big, run through of the Sega Saturn library, I touched on it and I'm like,
Mm.
okay, I'm coming back to this. I made a note of it, but I never did. A lot of stuff has happened since I left since then and
And
whenever I left the Saturn
I'd really
junkyard.
like to read a review from you, especially since you've spent so much time on Doom and the whole genre, because it really makes a difference. If like I have played Doom as well, I like the FPS genre, but I couldn't say I'm an expert or that I've played every first-person shooter. And
Right.
since you have more experience, it would be really nice to read a review from you on Planet Virtua sometime soon.
Oh yeah, yeah. I could definitely do something like that for sure. Um, but one more title that we actually kind of forgot was
Hmm?
Hexen.
Ah, yes, and I remember that we have opposing views on this one.
Oh, okay. Yes. Okay, give me one thing. I do love Hexen for its well, for one thing for its innovation and for another thing for the fact that it was a fantasy FPS game
Hmm.
that was also very deeply involved with John Romero. by the way. He
Hmm,
put
I
up
didn't
he
know that.
Oh yes, he actually fronted the money. He gave them the well, not fronted the money, but basically he kind of sort of pseudo produced it. And then on top of that, he helped them with John Carmack to give them an update of the Doom engine with which to program it on.
Hmm.
So that's why you'll see that like Hexen is brought up a lot with Doom for that reason. My problem is that, oh my God, it is a maze that keeps on changing over and over and over again, just in the first level. And you will get
Exactly.
lost. You will get lost. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. Unless you know exactly what you're doing, you will get lost for hours.
You can get lost for good and never finish anything.
No.
But despite the difficulty, I enjoyed it, and it
Yeah.
was refreshing at the time when I played it, somewhere around 98, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was very different to all the other FPSs, and
Mm-hmm.
that kind of almost RPG element that it added with the Warlock, the Warrior, and I
Right.
don't remember the third
The
character. I think
classes
I never
of
picked that
Warlock.
one. Hmm,
I don't
maybe.
remember. Maybe. I don't remember. It's been a minute. But
And I was bummed that Heretic didn't make it to the Saturn, the
yeah.
sequel,
Yeah.
because it was announced at some point in June '97. I remember reading about it on Saturn Power issue 1 back
Right, but
then,
it never came to fruition. Yeah, I know.
like so many other
Yeah,
games, and
I
I think that
know.
somewhere well into development, and it's a shame we haven't gotten a beta version or something
Right.
out of these titles.
Like Half-Life was supposed to be on Dreamcast, but that it was supposed to be the first appearance and only appearance of Blue Shift. Never happened.
Mm,
Yeah. That's like I called it the head crab that never was.
too
But
bad.
yeah, it really was. But anyway, unfortunately, folks, we should be wrapping this up. It was a lot of fun to be talking with you about our Saturn FPS experiences, and I hope that we
I totally agree. Brings back so many memories.
Mhm.
Some kind of scary.
A little bit, yeah. But I am just really glad that we are able to touch base like this, and I really hope that we do this again.
Yeah, me
Uh,
too. Me too. It was nice landing on Planet Virtua. We were able to kill some of the demons over there with our shotguns and our plasma weapons.
oh
And
yes,
I think there's plenty more monsters out there for us to kill.
absolutely, and I hope to find you as my local multiplayer and distant multiplayer. So either way,
Yeah,
thank you so much, Panzer. It's been a lot of fun,
thanks.
and
It was lots of fun, and I
mhm.
hope we do this again soon.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, and all of you from Planet Virtua. We are signing off.